Hello and welcome to Just Chatting, part of the Nerds Chatting Network. My name is Nate, and on this episode I speak to Richard Stevens. We talk about his radio show, his love of all things 80s, and podcasting. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so for people listening, tell me your name, a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how old you are, and what you do for a living.
So my name is Richard. I host the film and TV show, podcast and radio. I'm 36. I currently live in Cambridgeshire, and I am a work-based learning teacher.
Are you really?
I am, yes.
How did you get into that then?
I left retail when I was 23. I was an area manager for Comet just before they went bust, the electrical store.
Yep.
And we had an assessor in the store, and he basically just said, you'd be really good at doing it, training, development, you've got lots of transferable skills. Did you fancy it? So I thought, yeah, why not? I'll do that. And I joined a company, and they put me through my teaching degree.
Yeah.
Took me a couple of years, doing sort of 1 day a week, distance learning to get it done, and then just kind of carried on from there, really.
Yeah. So you say you're living in Cambridge now. Whereabouts are you from originally?
Well, my family are all from London, as you could probably tell, but strangely they don't actually sound like me for some reason. I still have the London accent. I don't know why. Predominantly, I've lived in Cambridgeshire my entire life.
Right. Okay.
So spent a brief time in Northamptonshire when I was married to my first wife, and then just come back again. I've kind of lived around here ever since. I'm currently in the Fens in Fenland. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you touched a little bit on your family there. So tell me a little bit about your family and the people you're close to. So you do the radio show, is that by yourself or is that with friends?
No, I do that with my friend Alex. We used to work in the same workplace, but we actually met through my old next door neighbour. They went to church together.
Yeah.
And his next door neighbour was doing the show with me, and then he asked if his mate could come, and kind of Alex come, and then my next door neighbour decided he didn't really want to come and do it again, and me and Alex have just been doing it ever since. So yeah, so it's just been me and him. So
a couple of things to unpick there for me. So I'm really interested in the show, and I think we'll get into that a lot. But is the going to the church something that you take part in? Are you
No, it's not. No, it's not something that I take part in. My next door neighbour, he's actively, my old next door neighbour, he was active part of the church.
Right.
But for me personally, no, I'm not a member of church or any religion.
So does that mean Alex is as well, though?
No, he's not anymore. He's not really, as far as I'm aware, we don't ever talk about religion. We kind of share the same beliefs around religion,
right.
Which is very odd. But I think it was a forced thing for him, perhaps. I don't know.
Right, yeah, sure, I wouldn't get you to speak for him.
To be honest, I don't ever want to push someone about it. So if he freely gives it up, then that's fine. But no, he's never given it up. So
okay. Tell me about the show then. Tell me about the radio show. Where has this idea come from? Tell me about the format. Tell me all about it. Tell me how it came about and what you do and sell it to me.
So basically, me and myself and Alex, we basically talk about whatever topic we want to talk about, film and TV related. We're both self-proclaimed film and TV geeks. We both love all manner of different films and TV shows, and I actually did it. Started it off myself because I had a meeting at the radio station to potentially find an apprentice, but they weren't in a position to take one. But the station manager just said, because we spent half the time talking about Doctor Who and Star Wars and Star Trek and everything, and he just kind of said, do you want to do your own show? And I just thought, why not? I always have an opinion about films. I always bleat about films to friends and family, and they always ask me my opinion on whether or not a film is good or not and what my thoughts are. And I thought, do you know what? I will do that. I'll take him up on his offer. And I did it for about 3 months on my own,
Yeah.
just doing it me, talking on the radio, and then I decided to stick it as a podcast as well, and took the format and sought out some help and advice from people, and they pointed me in the right direction, and then that was it. And then me and Alex have kind of progressed from doing that to actually going out and interviewing celebrities at Comic Cons
Yeah.
and doing that. So yeah, it's
So how
just a
does that
love.
differ then, doing it as a radio show to doing it as a podcast? Because presumably as a radio show, you're in a studio re
Yes.
recording live.
Yeah, so basically, we go into the radio station, the show goes out live, and we record it using an old recording program on a computer.
Right.
The station manager has hooked up, so we record the actual show, and then we edit in bits and edit out bits. Well, I edit in bits and edit out bits, and then I upload it to my hosting. So I upload it to Podium,
Yeah.
and then it then goes out to iTunes, Podbean, and Spotify, and TuneIn, and every other link that I've been
Yeah.
able to get it to link to. So
Yeah. So where does it broadcast in as a radio show?
so it's in Peterborough. So
Okay.
it's on Hereward Radio, which most people will remember the name Hereward Radio. It's been around Peterborough. It's synonymous with the Peterborough area, and it was bought out by Q103 back in the day, and then Hart took over. And then when Hart had had the name for 5 years, he approached Hart to buy the name back.
Right.
So that's what he did, and it's a community radio station, so it's not it doesn't have a very far reach. It covers the Peterborough area. That's
Yeah.
about it, and that yeah, and then it just kind of goes from there. So it's in a community centre in the heart of Peterborough. So the centre is used by loads of different people, and we actively encourage the local community to come and sit on the show if they want to, or just come in and listen. So, which is fine.
What sort of format does it take then? So like talk me through it. I mean, how long does the show run for? And presumably you're hosting it, are you?
Yeah, I host it, and Alex. Well, to be honest, me and Alex both host it. I sit in the host seat, so it's set up like a normal radio station. So you've got the main host seat, all of the tools, the mixer, the webcam, the computer screens, and everything.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 seats on the other side of the table. And Alex sits in whichever one he wants to sit in, depending on what mood he's in. And then, and then, and then we just go through it. We plan a topic, and we look at either what we've seen or an actor or an actress that we're quite interested in, or we will pick a genre of films or a franchise of films. We'll pick a TV show, Netflix binges, that sort of stuff, things that we've both seen and both haven't seen, so that we can bounce off each other. And it runs for about an hour. Because it's a radio show, we can put music on.
Right.
I've not had any issues from having the music playing on the podcast, so because it's covered under license, because it's just a recording of
Yeah.
a radio show,
Yeah.
so it's exempt from license infringement, so
Do
it's
you, do
covered
you
through that.
do you choose those songs, or is that a playlist that you have to play for?
No, I pick the songs myself.
Right.
I look at the topic that we're talking about, and I will pick songs that are appropriate to the topic and try and have it match, so that
Nice. Oh, that's a nice idea, yeah.
so it's a nice sort of seamless sort of blend, I suppose. So
Yeah.
that if I'm talking about Beverly Hills Cop, I will
Right.
play Axel F. Or
Yeah, yeah.
if we're talking about Ready Player One, I'll pretty much pick any 80s based song,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it'll pretty much fit. So
So how do you determine what topics you're going to talk about? Is that like relevant to the stuff that's in the cinema, or is it just the stuff that's interesting to you at the minute, or yeah, how does that work?
if there's a lot going on at the cinema, we'll both actively go to the cinema, and we'll both go and watch something. We'll watch it independently,
Yeah.
so that we don't kind of mix our ideas, so that it's fresh when we talk about it. And the same
Ah,
goes
okay.
with
So that specifically you've just decided that you'll view it separately.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. It makes it easier for us because I can't, because I have children and Alex doesn't.
right.
It's always harder for me to try and go to the cinema when a film comes out straight away. So
Yeah.
Alex will go to the cinema and watch it almost as soon as it comes out if he can, and I'll just watch it as and when.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we'll do it that way. So
Yeah.
we're sometimes quite lucky where we'll be given tickets to go and see it, and we can split it between the two of us.
Oh, nice.
But that's few and far between at the minute. We don't seem to be getting as many, but we're not actively seeking them. So because of work and moving house and
Yeah.
everything else,
Yeah.
it's just been a bit hectic. So we've not actively pushed the cinemas to do it. So, but we'll try and do that. And the same goes for Netflix. So he binged watched a TV show called Insatiable a while ago,
Yeah.
which I definitely didn't think that he would watch. And he actively pushed me to watch it, so I watched it, and then we had a discussion about it. But we will tend to kind of see what's in the news, what films are coming out, what's hot, and we'll discuss it. And if there isn't really anything that's bubbling around in social media, then we'll pick a topic that we both want to talk about, that we're both passionate about. So we'll have a look at what we both agree will be a good topic to talk about. So it could be, a TV show that's been on that's maybe gone under the radar a little bit, or it could be a film that we've both watched that we both love and we just want to talk about it, or even a franchise. So it just depends on sort of what's going on in the media and what we want to talk about. There's no set sort of, we're going to talk about this, and this. We kind of let it just flow, and
Yeah.
we don't really prep that much for it. We
Yeah.
just kind of, if we're talking about a franchise, we'll watch the films and then we'll talk about it. Or if we're talking about an actor, we will watch some of their back catalogue and then we'll talk about them. And with the power of Google, we'll have a couple of little bits and pieces with us, but usually it's just going on our own knowledge.
Yeah. So do you find that you can just bounce off each other quite easily then?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Since I've been doing it with Alex, it's been so much easier to have a much more natural, free-flowing radio show and podcast than when it was just myself on my own. And
Yeah.
we actively encourage people to come on and to actually come into the studio,
Yeah.
or to pre-record something that we can play and we can then discuss it. But it works better with both of us than with just me.
So what sort of things do you so my question would be about your passions. I mean, you mentioned a little bit earlier about some of the topics you'd choose when you haven't got something that's so sort of hot in the media at the minute would be something you're both passionate about. So where does that come from? What are the things that where your passions cross over, or where are the things that your passions don't cross over, or you're opposed? What sort of things really would you choose to go to? What's your default?
For me, it's anything 80s.
All right.
Being an 80s child and a 90s teenager, it's I love the 80s. I love everything about the 80s, bar the clothing. I think the 80s was probably the epitome of films. If you take away CGI and all of that, you're left with original writing, you're left with original scores, you've got ideas that are ahead of their time. The films are like RoboCop. They just kind of, there's something so magical about the 80s that it's, whether it's because I grew up in the 80s and I have just a huge affinity for it. He's more sort of late 90s. What is he? He's 8, 9 years younger than me.
Right.
So he was born in a different era, so he's used to different types. But we tend to kind of follow the same sort of route, and then he kind of goes off into his gaming and his Pokemon and anime. And I'm not really an anime fan. I don't dislike anime
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's never been an attraction to me. So I've watched a couple of Dragon Ball Z and a couple of old Pokemon. It doesn't grab me as much as other things. So I tend to, let him go on his own and educate me about it. So I'm always willing to learn and to try different things. But my passion predominantly lies in sort of 80s music and film and, 90s garage
Right.
and then sort of early 2000 pop, and then that's it. I daren't listen to anything else because I fear I may drop several IQ points if I do.
So where do you? That's interesting. To lead into the next question, where do you stand then on a couple of things that I'm interested in from what you said? Things like this retro nostalgia. So something like Stranger Things, where the TV shows it's just it's soaking up 70s and 80s pop culture and turning it into something new. So I'm interested where you stand on that, but also where do you stand on remakes of some of the classic 80s, like RoboCop, like Total Recall, etc.
Um, I'll get the remakes out of the way first. I don't like them. I don't like remakes. I am firmly in the camp of they are classics. They should be left alone. They worked back then. They may not hold their own now. I mean, the when they remade Ghostbusters with the women, that was a great idea. It was just so poorly executed. It was terrible. When they remade RoboCop, it just didn't have that same, what's the word I'm looking for? The power. It didn't have the same power behind it. It was all too modern,
Okay.
and the whole. I don't. It's hard to explain. It's very difficult to explain.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that they should remake old old films. They should use those ideas and bring them into now, not, oh, we haven't got anything, let's remake Total Recall. I mean,
Yeah. I saw a tweet earlier this week, and something basically on the lines of what you were saying there is that everything now is a remake, and the 80s was the period of all the original ideas.
yeah, 100%. And I genuinely believe Hollywood are out of ideas because doesn't really seem to be, other than Marvel, DC, and maybe Disney. Doesn't even Disney are kind of technically remaking because
Yeah.
The Last Jedi pretty much Empire, but you know I think remakes are bad. They should use the premise and use that to do another film along those lines, but don't call it the same.
Sure.
I love the retro nostalgia thing. I think with Ready Player One, Clive Pine did an absolutely amazing job in the book. The book was phenomenal. I read it from cover to cover in 2 days,
Right.
and I absorbed everything of it and loved it. Disappointed with the film. I thought Spielberg could have done a hell of a lot better with the source material, but I understand that he couldn't do everything because it was quite an intensive book. Stranger Things is just phenomenal. I think it's great what they've done with using the 70s and 80s retro nostalgia, and they've brought it forward. They've added the Upside Down, they've added monsters, they've added everything that people love, but they've set it in the 80s, and it's an original idea. It's great. I just wish that would translate onto the big screen, and Hollywood would do something along those lines.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you've got kids. Do you mind me asking how old your kids are?
Yeah, I've got 6 and 4-year-old. My partner's also got an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Do you find that, I mean, the 4-year-old may be a little too young for it, but do you find that they have shared interests with you in the 80s stuff, or are they more into the modern films and TV?
No, alas, I am on my own. The only saving grace is that both of my boys love Star Wars. So they will come in, they will ask my Google to play the Star Wars theme tune, and then they will sit through. They've sat through A New Hope and Empire, but they haven't sat through Jedi yet. So, so they're doing well considering their ages. But
Yeah.
but no, unfortunately, none of the children share my love for 80s retro stuff.
How about
It's
your other half? Does she indulge in it as well?
Absolutely not. No. No, she doesn't. She doesn't like it at all. It's a running joke with her family that her one of her sisters calls me Sheldon,
Oh,
as
brilliant.
in
Yeah.
Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. So, or she calls me Shelley.
Yeah.
So I am sort of the geeky sheep in the family. None of my family, my parents or my brother share my love of anything geeky and comic-con-y. They don't share that, unfortunately.
So
So
the radio show is your outlet.
it's my outlet, absolutely. It's my opportunity to jump on a high horse and give my opinion and challenge those uh, who listen to agree or disagree. And if they disagree, I'm totally open for them to listen. Well, for me, I'll listen to them and they can tell me why they disagree. And I'll happily sit and listen to them, and if I believe what they're saying to be better than my opinion, then I'll accept it.
Yeah.
It's the world we live in. I'm not infallible. I have opinions, and they're never right. So,
So you
you know,
mentioned earlier about the Comic Cons and that you've done some interviews and stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
yeah. I was very lucky that in Peterborough there is a convention called Feel the Force Day, which is a convention just specifically for those with disabilities. It's tailored for complete inclusion, complete equality for those who aren't able-bodied, those who are partially sighted or have sight or mobility issues, those who may have a hearing disability as well. It's open to anybody, but it's tailored specifically for those who can't necessarily go to a normal Comic Con
Yeah.
and enjoy it. So they come on the show. I did an interview with them. We had a good laugh and a joke, and then they invited us to go to their convention to run their Facebook page and to do video interviews. So I've been doing that for. I've actually just done it last Saturday. Saturday just gone actually.
Right.
That was my fourth
Oh
my
wow.
fourth one,
Yeah.
third, fourth. I think it's my fourth one. And then on the back of that, I was approached by a couple of other Comic Cons, and then I actively sought out convention organisers to see if it'd be something of interest, and it put me in touch with the guys at Cambridge Comic Con.
Yeah.
And although they've had negative press, but I it was. It was a wind up, I think, to be perfectly honest. But the convention was amazing, and I'm now actively a part of that convention, and I'm working closely with the guys at Feel the Force Day and a few others that send me messages and just ask me to come along and interview, and if I can promote their convention, then I will do.
What was the
Just
negative
as
press for the Cambridge Comic Con?
someone from Cambridge Live turned up on Monday and interviewed someone when someone had turned up on the Monday to go, which was Bank Holiday Monday in August, but it was actually on the Saturday and the Sunday, and then
Right.
they posted it out on the Monday, but then they then doctored it afterwards to say Sunday at
Oh
4 o'clock.
right. Oh, so being disingenuous with their interview.
So it was very, very disingenuous,
Yeah.
and yeah, it wasn't great. But the guys at the convention are fantastic. They've dealt with it like absolute champs, and we're already talking about next year and who we've got coming. And
Right.
the guys who run it, specifically Gavin, who is a very well known artist. He does a lot of artwork for films and TVs and comic books,
Right.
and he's very well connected. He's very well connected. So he's very good friends with quite a few celebrities, and they're happy to put in and to help out. And yeah, so it's afforded me quite a few privileges, which is
Yeah.
nice. I've got to interview some bucket list people, which is nice. So.
So who's on that list that you've had to interview?
I'm a massive Benidorm fan, so I got to interview Sherry Hewson and Sheila Reid at the weekend,
Oh wow, cool.
which was pretty nice. And consequently, because I was interviewing Sherry Hewson, I got to interview Amanda Barry as well, which was just great.
Yeah.
I got to interview Andrew Divoff at Cambridge.
Yeah.
He was the very first man to scare the living daylights out of me
Brilliant.
when he played the Djinn in Wishmaster. So
Yeah.
that was lovely. Alexis Cruz from Stargate played
Yeah.
Skara. Rick Cosnett from The Flash,
Oh, well, cool.
which was brilliant. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've interviewed Warwick Davis. Yeah, so
Does Alex come along with you to the cons?
pardon?
Does Alex come along with you to the
He
comic
does.
cons?
Yeah, he comes to a couple of them. Yeah, he was meant to come weekend just gone to Field of Force Day, but he's caught that flu bug that everyone's had.
Yeah, that's been going round. It's even come around down here, down in the southwest. We had a few days off last week, me and myself and a couple of colleagues. Just, yeah, it seems to have literally gone all over the country.
Yeah, he's hit it bad. My partner had it, and Alex has picked it up from the office. Well, the old office I used to work in, so he's not been very well. So he couldn't come, which was a shame. So it was just me and the station manager and his camera.
So, so I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit, but why do you think it is you want to do these things? Why do you think it is you want to have the radio show and the podcast and then interview some of these people? What is it about doing these things that you like?
Um, I don't know. I just love talking about films and TV shows. I love meeting people with like-minded opinions, but also those who are interested in films and TV shows and Comic Cons and all that, but have differing opinions. Every spare bit of time that I get, I will spend watching films or watching new TV shows or sitting down with my partner watching what she's watching to see if I can get into it.
What sort of stuff is that?
Um, she watches more sort of crime and investigation
Oh yeah.
stuff. Yeah, like serial killers and all that sort of stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So, but yeah, I kind of draw the line. It's very monotone. I find
Right.
the whole sort of premise of that, it's all sort of monotone. It's all very, very similar. There's no sort of arcs or anything. It's kind of very plateau. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's interesting, but it's not for me. I'll watch it if so I can spend time with her.
Yeah.
But I'd rather sit and watch, I don't know, The Flash or Bull or Lethal Weapon or I've just watched The Politician on Netflix with Ben Platt, which was phenomenal.
I don't know about that. Tell me about that. What's that?
So basically, it's Ben Platt, who is in the Pitch Perfect series, plays Benji in the Pitch Perfect series, and he's a very well-off college student, well, high school student, and he's running for student body president because he has a plan to become president of the United States. And it basically follows him on his journey to win, lose, or other the student body president election. And it just chronicles the lengths that he will go to and his opponent will go to, and kind of the misdemeanors that they get into. It's quite dark, to be honest. I mean, I won't spoil it, but there's a couple of bits that happen and you just think, wow, wasn't expecting that. It's a bit of a slow burner, if I'm honest. It takes a bit of getting into, but I'm actively looking forward to the second season, so that will be really good.
It sounds like it fits your criteria. It sounds like quite a new, different thing. Like you're talking about how the reboots, you'd rather just had a new idea or use the premise and to try something new. This sounds completely different to anything I've watched or seen before. So it fits your criteria.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I saw it and I left it a couple of days and I thought, do you know what? I will watch it because it looks interesting, and it's a lot darker than I was anticipating. I thought it might go along the lines of slapstick, but it's quite dramatic, quite quirky.
Right.
I might say it's got Zoe Deutsch in it as well, which I was very surprised to see. So that was quite nice.
Yeah.
And Ben Platt is phenomenal. He's such a talented actor. It's unbelievable. I totally believed him as in his character and in his role, so it was totally believable. Gwyneth Paltrow's in it for a little bit.
Right.
Bob, what's his name? Billabob, something like that. It's very, very similar to his first name, but
Right.
he's in it as well. The supporting cast are phenomenal. They're all mainly unknowns, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it was good. It's definitely something I've never seen before, so I was quite interested in that. And yeah, it took me a couple of episodes to sort of warm up to it, but then I sort of binged watched it over 2 days after that.
Yeah. Do you
So
think that's something you'll be talking about in one of your upcoming shows, do
yeah.
you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely something we'll talk about. There's a lot of new content on Netflix at the minute,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. I definitely prefer Netflix to Amazon.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely. I don't really like Amazon Prime. I don't know. The only thing I really liked was The Boys on Amazon Prime. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I haven't caught that yet, but a couple of friends said it was very, very, very good and worth watching.
It's very, very good, very dark. Again, it's quite dark. It's very anti-hero,
Yeah.
which is a nice direction to go in. So, but yeah, I prefer to watch things that are new and different. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, the question I finish all my interviews with, because I think it's quite important in some dark times is to focus on joy and things that bring us happiness. So my question to you, which you may have already covered, but is what brings you great joy?
what brings me great joy? Spending time with my children and my partner's children. I think it's important for for them, especially specifically my children, to be able to spend time with me and spend time with my partner and her children. I adore my children, and they are my reason for doing everything that I can to better myself. And spending time with them is the best thing that I could ever do. Forgetting all Comic Cons, forgetting all of the stuff that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
It all comes down to spending time with my kids. That's what makes me happy. That brings me joy. Just seeing them just playing. Seeing my partner's children when they're just playing and chilling out, and they're all having a laugh together. It's great. It's what brings me the biggest joy, I think.
It's a pretty good answer.
Yeah, I like to think so. Yeah, it's true as well. It's completely true.
That helps.
It really is. It's such a cliched answer, but it's sometimes the simplest answers are just
Yeah.
the best ones, and they're the most apt.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Richard. I've really appreciated this.
Thank you, Nate. I appreciate it too, mate. It's brilliant to just have a chat with a fellow podcaster and
Yeah. Yeah.
someone who covers similar things to what I do. It's great, and I always listen to your guys' podcasts, and
Oh, that's
more
really
so,
sweet of you.
more so now actually than before, because I didn't really have the distances to drive, but now I have longer distances. I can actually properly listen to the episodes, so I'm catching up on a lot of the little click that we tend to be gravitating to. So
Yeah, it's a really good community we've got, I think.
it's fantastic. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. I'm catching up on a lot of recent shows. So
Oh, that's
just
really kind of you to say.
no, it's brilliant. You guys, your content's amazing. It's always been brilliant. So it's definitely something that me and Alex aspire to. I know he listens as well. He listens to quite a few of them as well. So
Oh, very nice. Well, I think I can't take any credit for any of that. Ben, who I do, he does all the social media because I have no patience or skill with social media whatsoever. So he does
fair
it all.
enough.
Anyway, thank you very much, Richard. I really, really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very much, Nate. Appreciate it, mate.